Hi, my name is Javeria and I'm a first-year engineering student at Monash University, Australia. So for me, questions like will I get into a reputable university and what major would be right for me were of utmost concern after high school. And I'm sure a lot of us feel lost making these decisions. However, Studyco has been immensely patient and supportive throughout this journey. The support and guidance provided by Ms. Mubaraka and the efforts she took to go above and beyond for my future gave me a sense of security and relief. Additionally, Studyco has been accommodating and extremely understanding, and that is why I would strongly recommend Studyco to anybody.
Hello, I am Jason Matthias and I went to Indian School Muscat and graduated in the year 2017. I then approached Studyco, specifically Miss Annette Rosario, to gain help in pursuing my studies in the United Kingdom. It was a very smooth process from the beginning till the end. The list of required documents were given to me well in advance. The procedures were laid out very well and the visa procedures were explained thoroughly. With the help of Miss Annette and her persistent work towards my application, I was able to make my way into Solent University in Southampton, United Kingdom.
Everyone, my name is Rochelle Vaz and I'm a former ISMer. After passing out from ISM in 2014 with flying colors, I really wanted to pursue MBBS to become a doctor, but I just didn't know where to begin. I came across Studyco just by chance, and they provided me with excellent guidance, not just in understanding the gravity of medical education, but also showed me the right path to achieving my dreams. They guided me all through the application process for Monash University, Malaysia, which is an Australian university in Malaysia, and took away a large part of my anxiousness in this regard.
Hello everyone, my name is Rapali and I am currently studying in Australia. So I always had this dream of going and studying abroad, and Studyco has helped me immensely in achieving my dream. So I am here in Australia just because of them. They helped me in every step of the way, from filling in applications to arranging documents, filling in visa applications, everything. Even though the process was so complicated, they made it very easy. They do everything for you and they never get irritated even if you ask them small questions again and again. So I encourage you all to go through Studyco. They are wonderful people and I would recommend them to everyone. Thank you.
So, there are a few cool programs and services we offer at Studyco that you may not know about. First group, called Teachers, Principals and Education Staff out there. Studyco has a range of professional development programs in every aspect possible: leadership programs, education management, and courses to upskill. We can also organise overseas tours for counsellors, teachers and principals with Australian schools, universities and the Department of Education. The delivery? Of course, we can deliver these programs in person in Australia as a tour, or we can even do virtual tours of exactly the same experience in the current situation. Another great aspect of these teacher training programs is that we can bring someone right here to Oman or any other part of the world to conduct this training. At Studyco, we are flexible, we can tailor-make solutions to suit your needs. The second group. This one is for all students, parents, teachers and anyone really. Studyco offers online courses in every single field imaginable, including business, engineering, health, law, oil and gas, soft skills like CV writing, interviews, personal development, English, the CELTA. I still haven't even scratched the surface. So you name it, we can arrange it. These can be completed in a matter of hours, days, or months. You pick. Come to us with your subject of interest, or let us help you pick. Give us a time frame and we can deliver it online. If you have any questions, our office in Quorum is open for business and you can come meet any of our team in person to discuss your future study journey. Hope to see you there. I'm Mubaraka. I'm here in the Studyco Oman office and I wanted to take this opportunity to answer some common FAQs from students and parents. Number 1. So at Studyco, we do the entire application and visa process for you free of charge. So that means we have counsellors that help students decide exactly what they want to study, which university is best for that area of study, and the right destination country to suit all your needs. We then gather your documents and the rest is done by us. Number 2. So Studyco assists in finding the right accommodation options, and we generally recommend that the student stays on campus for the first year of their degree. Health cover, we have a great provider in Allianz, and the processes are done entirely through us. In terms of the on-the-ground support, Studyco's headquarters are located
with 50+ years of experience.
Honorable Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in the Sultanate of Oman, Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, and Honorable Members on the Board, Mr. Ajay Kumar J. Pillai, President, Indian School Muscat Management Committee, and esteemed members of Indian School Muscat Management Committee, our Honorable Principal, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chauhan, Presidents and esteemed members of all Indian School Management Committees in the Sultanate of Oman, Honorable Principals, Vice Principals, Assistant Vice Principals, Supervisors, Coordinators, Heads of Departments, Teachers, Parents, and Students. Good afternoon. I am Neha Maria Paul of Class 11D from Indian School Muscat, your host this evening. An old proverb goes like this: a vision without a plan is just a dream, but a vision with a plan can change the world. We bring Avnir 2020 to the young minds of today with the vision to change the world for a better tomorrow. A career path starts here that prepares you for tomorrow. And yes, Avnir 2020 is the platform. The Sultanate is our home, away from home, and it envelops us in its warmth and spreads its protective wings to shield us. We are grateful to the noble benevolence and generosity of His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq and his government. On behalf of Indian School Muscat, I express our wholehearted gratitude to His Majesty and pray that God grant His Majesty a long life and our host country perpetual prosperity and peace. I deem it my proud privilege and pleasure to welcome our esteemed chairman, Dr. Baby Sam Samuel. Welcome, sir. Your presence amidst us is truly encouraging, and certainly it's a great honor to have you with us this afternoon, sir. I also extend a warm welcome to the members of the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in the Sultanate of Oman. Welcome, sirs. I am thrilled to welcome Mr. Ajay Kumar J. Pillai, President and other valued members of the Indian School Muscat Management Committee. Welcome, sirs. When you believe in yourself and the people you surround yourself with, you will win something really big someday, said Dick Vermeil. Our principal, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chauhan, believes in himself and his team, and thus he keeps winning always. A hearty welcome to you, sir. A gracious welcome to all the honorable principals, vice principals, assistant vice principals, supervisors, coordinators, heads of departments, teachers, parents, and students. Welcome, sirs and madams. We have with us today the multifaceted talent with an eye for the future, Professor Dr. Madan Mohan Pant. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former Pro Vice Chancellor at IGNOU, Professor Dr. M. Pant. Professor Dr. M. Pant is a PhD in computational physics with a professional degree in law. He has delivered talks and seminars at a number of international conferences and was part of a delegation led by Secretary, Department of Electronics, Government of India to Canada and USA to explore collaborative possibilities in IT-enabled distance education. Professor Dr. M. Pant has written the script for an educational film titled Atoms that won the International Cup of Rome Award and subsequently the National Award for being the best educational film of the year 1974. Today we have Professor Dr. Madan Mohan Pant, who will be talking on artificial intelligence and its transformation in 21st century.
Of experience as an academic researcher, lawyer, and an educational entrepreneur in his kitty, Professor M. Pant is now exploring exciting new vistas in pedagogy, technology, and curricula for the future, with special focus on mobile WhatsApp-based lifelong learning beyond traditional education and blending personalized and social learning. Introducing quantum principles at schools through the Keller Plan, and preparing teachers and learners for the age of artificial intelligence are some of his current educational initiatives. He has also scripted the 1974 award-winning educational film, Atoms. We are fortunate to have the multi-talented Professor Pant amidst us to help us look at the future through his eyes. With 50 plus years of experience as an academic researcher.
Thank you, Tessie Verghese ma'am, our mathematics teacher, and Caleb Biju Matthew of class 11D for that brilliant video.
Should I begin?
Over to you, sir.
Okay, so firstly, I must say that it's a great pleasure to hear Neha describing the event and this whole thing being held at the Indian School Muscat, which I had visited about 25 years ago, 1995 or so. I had visited this, and this also this whole group of Indian schools in the Sultanate of Oman and so on. So it's really a pleasure being with them once again. But the other interesting thing is that the event itself has been, what should I say, crafted so well that it is absolutely amazing. And I think it is a very, very useful thing, because one of the big things that has happened in these last 2 decades is that the world has changed drastically. I want to begin with a few generic statements and stories, and this whole thing will be like that. So actually, if you look at careers, even now, people are talking about careers as something which you have to decide quickly, decide with a lot of choices. And in this event, you have choices of various experts talking about different careers. You have universities talking about various things, individuals talking about things, all the kind of, from defense to finance to design, fashion, whatever. And it is very interesting, because this idea that you choose one career for your life is an idea which is under challenge. And I want to explain this to you, because there was a time when you said that at 10 plus 2 or whatever stage you took an exam, or in fact for defense you went even earlier. So you went to the NDA, or you went to an engineering or a medical, and law actually for some time was something you could do after university. So you could have done a BA, BSc, BCom, and then gone and done law. But now law also is a choice you make at 10 plus 2. So there was a time when this thought process was that you decide a career early in life and pursue that career, in a sense, relentlessly. I come from a physics background, and many of the careers that we were talking about were science-based, physics-based, engineering-based, and then they evolved into computers and technology-based. But I want to get you to another side, the biological model of life. Actually, after the coronavirus, we have realized that biology is much more important than many other things. You know, the entire coronavirus and the planet is just about 1 teaspoon. That's the total amount of coronavirus which is present. And this is what it has done. So what is happening in biology, you all know this in some sense, but I'm making it a little more formal. We all begin with a single cell. And then today we have 40 trillion cells as grown-ups. And many of these things, cells evolve out of those stem cells, or the primitive cells that we call, into heart cells, liver cells, brain cells, neurons, this, that, whatever, in a process called cellular differentiation. Our model of career was also like that. You were a school child, you did class 10 like everybody else. At class 11, 12, there was some change in terms of medical stream, non-medical stream, and so on. And then you took different careers, and you were different kind of thing, like these differentiated cells. And the belief in biology also was that once these cells have been differentiated, they can't go back and become something else. So a brain cell could not have become a heart cell, and so on and so forth. And we also thought an engineer could not become a doctor, or a lawyer couldn't become this, and so on. To some extent, I did it. And in my introduction, you would have seen that I'm also a lawyer and a practicing lawyer, and so on. And I did this after having done PhD in physics. When I was teaching as a faculty in IIT Kanpur, I went to law school, did a 3-year law degree program, and then sometime later, I also practiced as a lawyer for about 7 years. This is interesting because I want to get you a story of a scientist called John Gurdon. Now, this is very interesting. So I told you that this belief was that once you have this cell and this has been differentiated into one of the differentiated cells, then there is no way you can redo that. But John Gurdon got the 2012 Nobel Prize in Medicine for saying that, in fact, John Gurdon got the Nobel Prize in 2012 with Shinya Yamanaka. They got it jointly, half each, for the discovery that mature cells can be reprogrammed to become pluripotent. That means they could become something else. Why I'm saying this to you today is that don't think that you have to be stuck in one career. If you take a career, you pursue a career at any point of time, you feel like changing, today it is quite possible. And to some extent, it is possible because of artificial intelligence and information technology, which is the core thing which is driving most of the career opportunities now. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about. So I'll be talking to you about what are the careers right away in the field of artificial intelligence and related technologies, what careers will happen in the next 5 to 10 years, and what careers will happen after that, and how you can. So I will tell you what are the principles with which you can see what careers are going to be important. So you can obviously take experts' opinion on that, but the principles that will help you make a career choice for the future, I will also share with you. So this is the broad narrative of my story that I'm telling with you. So today, tomorrow, and in future, when we are not around to let you know. But I also want to put in a little story about this John Gurdon. John Gurdon at one time was studying in a school. In fact, it's called Eton College in England. And as you know, it is one of the most well-reputed school in the world, Eton College in England. And it's famous for all kinds of eminent people having come, all prime ministers, etc., etc. But John Gurdon was also a student. When he was a student at, I think, class 8 or so equivalent, he had a very particularly bad performance in the exam. He was like 250 out of 265 in his class, 250 rank, not 250 marks. And when he was asked by his teachers, what would he want to become? He said he wants to become a scientist. And the teachers wrote a report which John Gurdon has in his laboratory today, and I have also shown you can even Google for it. So when he said that with this marks he wants to be a scientist, the teachers said this is a ridiculous idea. It is a waste of time of everybody concerned, considering what his performance is. If he can't do these simple facts, how can he ever become scientist? And as I said, in 2012, he won the Nobel Prize in medicine for his work. So one thing is that if your school results aren't very good, don't be disheartened. Pursue what you want to pursue with the passion that is there, and there's a long life, and you can show people that you accomplished very well, although you did not do so well in the school exams. We could also argue it the other way to talk about the glory of Eton, that, well, there are so many great people who did so, but even the ones who were standing last in the class, they were also worthy of a Nobel Prize. And therefore, you can again attribute it to Eton, that Eton is a great thing. So coming to the present now, and you all know that this is the time of artificial intelligence. And not artificial intelligence alone, but a number of technologies. And the turning point was the year 2016. So in the year 2016, early January, World Economic Forum at Davos has an annual meeting. And in 2016, Klaus Schwab, who is the founder of the World Economic Forum, he propounded something quite fundamental. Earlier meetings were usual every year, what is the state of the economy, what is happening. But in 2016 January, Klaus Schwab said, we are entering a fourth industrial revolution. And this is important to understand because it's a complete game changer in many ways. If we go back to history, in prehistoric times, or in fact, I wouldn't call it prehistoric time, in pre-industrial times, the only source of energy that humans had was their physical strength and the slaves and minions and domesticated animals that they had. And therefore, countries with large population had more economic thing because they had more energy. So India and China, many people will show you data that 300 years ago, India was the largest GDP in the world and so on and so forth, etc. Around till the time that you had only mechanical force, which you had, and force from animals or muscular energy, the way you could amplify that was by what is called simple machines. Many of you in school must be studying or have already studied things called the inclined plane, the lever, and the pulley. So these are considered the basic simple machine. Also, the screw is also considered a simple machine. But with this, we made the Great Wall of China, we made the pyramids of Egypt, we made the Colosseum in Rome, and so on and so forth. So it was, but it required thousands of people working for several years, sometimes 10, 20, 30 years before that could be made. Around 1780 or so, we discovered the power of steam. You must have heard the story of James Watt and Stephenson and so on. Once we discovered the power of steam, we could create the steam engine for locomotion, and we had boilers in factories for large-scale production. Until then, there was no large-scale production. It had to be individually made, whatever, whether you're talking fabric or you're talking some stuff, etc. So this opened what was called the first industrial revolution. And the center of gravity started shifting to Europe because they were the first ones to put in all these factories and get into manufacturing on a large scale. This went on for about 100 years, and about 100 years later, the second industrial revolution happened, and the second industrial revolution was about electricity. Now, you heard the story of Thomas Edison having made the incandescent lamp. And when Thomas Edison made this lamp, his next idea was, how will people use the lamp? I had to provide a source of electricity. Electricity was still there. It was in the form of batteries. You must have done in your school laboratory, like Leclanche cell and so on and so forth. So you had a battery and you could do this. But if you wanted this bulb to be adopted by millions of people, you had to do something more. And Edison therefore set up a company called Edison Electric Company, which later became General Electric and is of course one of the big companies in the world. Now, when the electricity happened, there was a big transformation. There are two things. One is, of course, that electricity was used to bring in light and so on. The other thing was that earlier devices all went towards electricity. So till then there was steam, there were oil, and there were. So what happened is the oil companies, which so far were very happy making what is called kerosene oil, and in England it is called lamp oil, and selling kerosene lamps and various things, even machinery made of kerosene stuff, they realized that electricity will come in, and slowly everything will become more and more electricity driven, neither steam driven nor mechanical power driven, nor this thing. And this is one of the big thing that happened in the second industrial revolution, and huge progress happened. The economic progress of the world was very high. One of the problems with the electric thing was that you could do a lot of motion and movement, but you couldn't do much automation. The only automation you could do was using electromagnetic things like in a call bell or in the starter of a car or in a door which opens automatically where somebody presses something and some electric current goes make break and opens the door or something. Around 1970s, electronics became important. So we had the diode and electrode valves, then we had transistor, then integrated circuits, we had radio, television, computers, and all these things. And this was the third industrial revolution. And everything that we see so far, amazing, miraculous, magical things, is the third industrial revolution. What has now happened, as articulated by Klaus Schwab, is the fourth industrial revolution, where we are having artificial intelligence to add to that. So the computer revolution itself was very big. And the reason computer revolution was very big was that the computer was something like an engine of the mind. I told you how steam and electricity were powerful things which enhanced our physical strength. So if I'm finding very difficult to lift water from a well, I will have a pump which will do this. I can have a lift or an elevator, escalator, all kinds of things. They were engines of physical power of human. The computer became an engine of the mind. So what do we do when we do things with our mind? We store information, we process information, we use information, and this is the basic thing. So what was very difficult to do, and you needed to have ledgers and registers and books and libraries, once it became digital, it became so much easier. So the key thing which distinguishes a computer from other things is that while other things can store and retrieve, the computer could store instructions as to what to do with the information, which is what we call a computer program. And therefore, if you could write a computer program for, if you're in school solving your quadratic equation or finding the third side of a triangle given two sides and the internal angle, you don't have to do it. You will just give to the computer, these are the two sides, this is the angle between them, the computer will do the calculation. In artificial intelligence, the computer is going one step more. It is also doing the thinking for you, at least part of the thinking, not entire thinking. So one of the things about artificial intelligence is that it can see patterns from the data. And we typically talk of artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. So in a computer programming, we said somebody must know how to solve the problem, how to write the program for the problem, and given data, and it will get the answer. But in artificial intelligence and machine learning, you don't need to know how to solve the problem. You just give it various amount of data and the right answers. This is called supervised learning. So you show it pictures of, it could be cats or dogs or flowers or patients' X-ray photographs or MRIs or whatever. And the expert tells that if this is the photo, then the person is having this. If this is the photo, then the person is having this. Using artificial intelligence, the machine will then learn. And if you give a photograph of a new patient, it will be able to identify what it has. And this is why artificial intelligence is playing a big role wherever humans do this. In fact, obviously, there are lots of things that machines still cannot do. And Andrew Ng is a very famous person in this field. In fact, he said that AI is the new electricity. So he said, just like electricity at every home transformed the home, AI in every hand will transform everybody. Now, if you believe AI in every hand is difficult, no. The mobile phone that you are having, there is a good chance that it already has AI in it. If it has facial recognition and it has Siri or Alexa or whatever, that is already an example of artificial intelligence. And this is why we expect this to change across. So the point that I'm trying to say is that artificial intelligence is a technology which has moved further from computer technology for that it to be able to learn from various things. So you have supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, transfer learning. All this is a matter of detail. But the reason it is important is it is affecting all kinds of things where humans apply their intelligence of brain. So now whether you're a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or a businessman, it is useful to you because you are applying your thing. The domain knowledge of a medical doctor and a lawyer and so on is of course different. But once you put in that domain knowledge in the system will be able to do well, sometimes better than the human being. Now, you've seen this in the case of chess, for example. You know that IBM Blue defeated the chess champion Garry Kasparov, and he was very disappointed because 1 year ago, he had defeated the computer. In 1 year, the computer had progressed so much that he defeated Garry Kasparov. And similarly, there's another not so popular game called Go, in which actually the Google software defeated the Go champion. And actually he swore, the South Korean Go champion, he said, I will not play Go anymore. There is no way I can win against a machine and the machine can play much better. So what happens is that AI is all pervasive. You can have these applications in all fields. And this is why what I talked about, that you will be able to change from one field to another, is that you don't have to know all the processes. The AI will be able to do that. Now, part of my narration is to now be able to tell you, so what are the other things? So today we have artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, they're all related to each other. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, deep learning is a subset of machine learning. But that's not all. We have cloud computing. Cloud computing allowed you to access data, programs, everything from anywhere. Earlier, and I began my programming in 1967, 68, you had to write everything. It had to be on your computer. Only what is on your computer you could get back. If that data is not on your computer, it was of no use to you. Then came connecting computers, and then came internet, where almost all computers have been connected. And now we have cloud computing, so I don't really need everything on my computer locally. It can be somewhere which is connected. So when you say cloud, it means it is connected to the internet. And you use the word cloud because there's no precise thing. I cannot say the computer from where I am getting this thing is located in this place. This is not very new. Even when you use electricity, when you use electricity, it is a grid which is giving you electricity. You have no idea which generator is generating the power that you are using. So cloud computing has also become a very important thing today because it frees you off from the infrastructure that you would have to keep, etc., etc. Earlier, you could not. See, earlier, you needed to put all your information where you have, and then only then you could retrieve it. Another very important thing, of course, is now happening in mobile computing. So you can do a lot of stuff on your mobile itself. So in fact, I have stopped using even a laptop for a long time. All that I use is the iPad and the iPhone, and most of my work I'm able to do on that. We then have a very interesting thing called the Internet of Things. So the earlier internet was Internet of Computers, and you only connected computers and then laptops and mobile phones and so on and so forth. But today you can connect all kinds of things. You can have your refrigerator connected to the internet. You can have your air conditioner connected to the internet. You can have lights connected to the internet. And this is called the Internet of Things, which means that each of those devices have some kind of a sensor. And the sensor's data is now being connected to the internet. And then you are able to manage this. And there's a huge opportunity also. And there are lots of work. The sensors itself is a specialization. What kind of sensor you will use, how you will use the sensor, and so on. So you will have specialists in it. Another very important thing which has come up nowadays is blockchain. Now, blockchain is related to information security. And the point about information security is that, as you know, electronically, if I have a transaction, it is very easy to copy, easy to forward, easy to edit and then mix it and so on. So if I want electronic records to be secure, as in financial transaction, land records, other records, your academic records, whatever marks you got and so on, blockchain is a secure way of doing this in a public ledger, which is what is called non-fiat. So today, for example, if you have to have your records authenticated, verified, if you're a CBSE school, it is the CBSE which will verify what your record was. If you want to find out what marks I got when I passed 10+2, you will have to find out from the records of the UP board of 1962 to find out whether it is there or not. Otherwise, somebody has a copy and you certify by a gazetted officer and so on. So mostly, blockchain is a model of security which is without any authority, which is by way of that block of data being on various computers in a certain method where you do some security, etc., blockchain, but purely technology allows it to be trustworthy. So far we have trust on an individual or an authority. But blockchain says, no, the trust is on the technology itself. The technology assures that nobody can vitiate or violate the records which are over here. And therefore, that is also very important. There were some issues with respect to it because one of the earlier users of blockchains was a cryptocurrency called Bitcoin. And it was used by a lot of people who were not mainstream society. So they were arms dealer, this, that, and they were using it, and therefore it got a bad name. But the technology inside it, called the blockchain, is now being appreciated. Many countries are moving towards blockchain. Many things are doing smaller projects on blockchain. But as you grow up, you will find that being a blockchain specialist will be a very important part of your career in terms of this thing. And then there are things like augmented reality and virtual reality. Many of you may have played with the Oculus Quest or Oculus Rift or whatever, and you put that goggles and you are into another world, which is a virtual reality world. Augmented reality is when you impose, so that when you use a QR code or something, you impose digital information on top of physical information and so on. So these are the sort of 10, 12 technologies of now. And therefore there will be careers around it. But you must also remember that technology careers are not only technology development. They can even be sometimes be technology testing, technology validation. That somebody has built something, you want to test it and make sure. I will tell, okay, in the field of AI, there's a whole kind of thing, whether the AI has bias or not, and so on and so forth. So there are people who will do that. There will be marketing people. Marketing is a common thing. If I'm going to market somebody, so blockchain to somebody, I am basically a marketing person trying to say, do this on blockchain and not on what you were doing before. If I'm a finance person, I need to find out where will I get the money to invest in blockchain and where will the return on investment come in. So this is where I was trying to say in the beginning that no longer are these professions separated, they all merge. If you are going to do something, you will have to do that persuasion, you'll have to do that financial analysis, have to do that financial viability, and the good news is that AI will help you do everything. So marketing, for example, artificial intelligence is now being used for marketing by so many people. Amazon does that. Netflix does that. Almost every company is doing that. There's a very famous shirt making company called Brooks Brothers. Now, Brooks Brothers is a very well-known 100-year-old shirt making company based out of New York, but has things all over. Most international airports have their things. So one of the challenges is how to find out which kind of shirts to stock at which outlet. Now, if you have the wrong kind of shirt, it's a waste of thing. You missed a customer. So they're using AI to find out what is it that customers of this particular people are looking for. What sizes, what fabric, what colors, what this thing. And AI has come in as a great help to them. There's a company selling beauty products. Olay, I think is the name. Olay sells creams, especially for the elderly women. Now, what it did was it created a simple product where you take a selfie, send your photo to the company, and from that, using AI, they will analyze your skin pattern, what kind of cream you need, and then deliver it to you. When they did this in 1 year, they increased their revenue by 100%. This is the power of AI that is going to happen. That all kind of walks of life, and I can talk to you about agriculture, about medicine, about healthcare, about everything. So this is what is going to be a very important thing. Now, the point is that one of the points about such technologies, and you have seen this, is that they change very rapidly. Not too long ago, talking about 20, 25 years ago, there was a big thing about having VCR to see something. Then came the CD to see something. Then came the DVD to see something. Now, none of these things exist. Everything is Netflix or cloud or what is called over-the-top, OTT, and so on and so forth. So what I want to do is I want to share with you a few other things. So this is the technologies. But eventually it's humans. And sometimes somebody asks me, so is it better to do a degree in computer and then followed by management, or do a degree in management and learn computers and so on? And I told him degrees are not given jobs. Jobs are given to humans. And he was a very smart person. So he asked me, so how does one become such kind of a human? I'll respond to that. So I talked to you about the World Economic Forum, where Klaus Schwab talked about this thing, There's another report from the World Economic Forum of what are the kind of skills that will be needed in people. You, of course, have some sessions also on skills. So this is again a report which talked about what are the skills will be important in 2020. It compared it with the skills that were important in 2015, and this is the top 10 skills. That does not mean that is all. There are many others that you might need, but the most important ones are listed as top 10 skills of 2020 and beyond. You can Google for it. It has been used in so many places, etc. The number one skill is complex problem solving. So I'll first list you all the skills and spend some time on some of them. Number one is complex problem solving. Number two is critical thinking. Number three is creative thinking. Number four is people management. Number five is coordinating with others. Number six is emotional intelligence. Number seven is judgment and decision making. Number eight is service orientation. Number nine is negotiation. And number 10 is cognitive flexibility. So these are listed as 10 skills by World Economic Forum for 2020. There's a similar list for 2015. Interestingly, complex problem solving is in both at number one. But creativity has moved up from number 10 to number 3. Because now this, and critical thinking is at number 2. So actually now the point is we are doing complex problems. So problems which remain are complex. Simple problems have been solved or can be solved. Let me explain a little bit. See, a simple problem means that it is well defined, a solution exists, people know how to solve it. You may not know, but if you learn how to solve it, you apply the same method, it will get solved. Or you can get somebody to solve it. A complicated problem is something which consists of a number of simple problems. So if you take a car, for example, it is a complicated problem because it has a gearbox, it has a petrol thing, it has an engine, it has a braking system, it has a few systems, and all of this must work efficiently to have your car in functioning order. So if you look at each of these subsystems individually, set them right, your car is set. But in a complex problem, it isn't so. In a complex problem, you cannot break it into different parts and look at each of them one at a time. You have to look at them together. The climate change issue is something like that. The economic global things is something like that. Our recent pandemic is something like that. You cannot say, I will lock down, and then so now if you lock down, the economy is going to get affected, and you cannot just unlock and economy gets started. It's not so. So the most challenging problems of today are complex problems, and this is where it is like. Emotional intelligence also has become very important because lots of things can be done by machine. But eventually, when we're dealing with humans, we need to be able to look at emotions. And emotional intelligence is not being about emotionally sensitive. It is about being able to understand the emotion. Intelligence comes in when you can do something. So you can see whether you are getting carried away by emotion, whether somebody else is getting carried away by emotion, what is the thing, and so on and so forth. And number 10 was cognitive flexibility. Cognitive flexibility is basically this, that what you learn in one context, you can apply to another. And you must have seen in your own circle of people that there are people who did something, but are well known for something else. I mean, for example, in India, there's a very interesting example, Raghuram Rajan. Raghuram Rajan has a BTech from IIT Delhi in electrical engineering, but he is well known as an economist. World Bank, Reserve Bank, whatever you call it. Now, why is this? So this is what cognitive flexibility is. What you learned in one context, problem solving, etc., in the context of electrical engineering, you could transfer it with, of course, having learned a little more, to something else. And the reason I said this, because I began with differentiated cells. The original assumption was economist is an economist, electrical engineer is an electrical engineer, and you cannot go from one to the other. Cognitive flexibility is exactly this, that you begin with some field, you can go to another field, you're learning, building in terms of whatever your abilities are of generally cognitive. In fact, from a learning point of view, this has been there's a very well-known cognitive psychologist called Guy Claxton. He coined the word phrase learning power for this. So he says learning power is the ability to learn, and in a manner that you know what to do when you have not been told what to do. See, a large part of thing is you have learned how to solve a quadratic equation, you've learned how to apply Pythagoras formula, and so on and so forth. But learning power is something where you got a problem, you don't know how to solve the problem, but you can figure out what are the steps that I need to be able to solve the problem. And where would I go, whatever. And this is becoming more important in today's time. And this is what cognitive flexibility is about. To the list of these, one of them is computational thinking. Computational thinking became very important and brought to the notice of people by a lady called Janet Wing, who was a professor in Carnegie Mellon University at that time. Then she moved on to Microsoft, so she might still be in Microsoft. So she said for the first time that whether or not you are a computer programmer, you must understand how you think a problem is solved, as if it could be solved by a computer. So that is what computational thinking is about. It has a structure, abstraction, decomposition, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that you may not know programming, you may not be actually doing any programming, but you know the steps it takes to solve a problem. If you remember what I said earlier about learning power, knowing what to do when you don't know what to do, so you start asking questions. This is another very important feature, that you start asking questions about it. See, when you study in school, you never ask what you want to study. Somebody has decided it, you must know this. But in real life, you will need to be able to ask questions because there will be things that are happening and you don't know. And therefore, asking questions, finding their answers is another very, very important thing. I have given a name questioneering to that ability. And I'll share with you another story on that. So there was this physicist called Rabi, who won a Nobel Prize in physics for nuclear magnetic resonance. All the MRI that you do, etc., today is for that. And they asked Rabi that, so what made you a scientist and what made you get into science? And he did not say my science teacher in school or my laboratory here or this or that. He said, my mother made me a scientist. So they asked, is your mother also a scientist? He says, no, my mother is a housemaker. But the thing is, every day when I came back from school, while other mothers would ask their children, what did you learn today? My mother would ask, did you ask a good question today? And asking a good question is the key to success. So if you've asked good questions, got the right, and therefore this is also another very important thing. In some sense, it comes in. Finally, the 12th skill that I'm talking of is something called first principles. Similar, Elon Musk, Elon Musk is very famous. Now he's done SpaceX also. Until then, he was known for his car. He has talked about first principles as a thing that whenever you have a problem, same issue, knowing what to do when you don't know what to do or you have not been taught what to do, start asking questions. And he did all this space thing, battery thing, everything. So he says, everybody told me that electric cars would be very difficult, very expensive, and so on. So I asked, so what is the most expensive part? They said battery is the most. So he said, why is the battery so expensive? What is the battery actually doing? And to cut a long story short here, same thing with thing. Now, you all know that we assume that rockets are one-way thing, which you throw it into outer space. He said, but why can't we use them again? Like an ordinary aeroplane, comes back, takes new passengers, and he developed those kind of rockets. So he says, use first principles, apply first principles whenever you're looking at certain problems. So in addition to what the World Economic Forum has said, I have said computational thinking and first principles are important. So this is what is here now. But let me tell you what is happening already. And what is happening already is quantum technologies, quantum computing, quantum biology, and quantum technologies. And this is something which 100 years ago was developed theoretically. Some of these things are already, many of our devices use quantum things. Everybody who uses a mobile phone has something which is working on quantum, etc. But not at the fundamental quantum level. It's a quantum manifestation which you can ignore for your day-to-day work, and it works. There are many things on this, but this is the big emerging area. So what computing was 10, 20 years ago, what AI is now, quantum technologies are next. And I will share with you that all over the world, there is now a race for quantum technologies. Now, you may not have noticed, but the world, or the countries of the world, are in a constant race. And I will share with you a few races which have happened. The first race, which is closer to when I was born, was in 1945. I was born in 1947, when the nuclear race declared the winner. And the winner was the USA, because it dropped bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Till then, nuclear physics was theoretical. Einstein had an equation called E is equal to mc squared. But these are all equations. But the real bomb was on, I think, August 6th and 9th, 1945 at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That established the nuclear race. And US became smug. US realized we are world leaders in technology. Russia was creeping by, but Americans thought these people just steal our secrets, this, that. There are some Americans whose character is not so good. They sell the secrets to the Soviets and so on. And merrily this model was continuing until, I think, 4th of October 1957, when Russia launched the Sputnik. And Americans were aghast. How could they have stolen from us when we don't know how to do it? So US went ahead in this space race. Russia went ahead in the space race. US was very disappointed. So when John Kennedy became president in 1960, 57 was the Sputnik and they were losing. One of his first statements was that before the end of 10 years, we'll put an American on the moon and bring him back. And I think it was again 20th July 1969 or so that Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon. That's, a small step for man, giant step for mankind, and so on. So the space race then went on. Now, we're talking about international space stations and so on. Then was the AI race. So all these companies which have AI, today there is a race. The two players are US and China. These are the two players who have used AI very well. US has more research and patents. China has more applications. And one of the reasons is that in AI, when you deal with massive amounts of data of people, societies which have high sense of privacy are reluctant to do that. So in the US, it is not easy for the police people to use the face recognition and do whatever they want to do. It is already quite bad for them with the Black Lives Matter. In China, there's no problem. They can do that. They can arrest anybody who wants to arrest, whether your data is right, wrong, etc. So that is the thing. So we are now in the quantum race. You should read this, Google it, quantum supremacy. On 23rd October 2019, Google announced that it has achieved quantum supremacy. And quantum supremacy is a phrase which was coined by John Preskill of Caltech to say that you have solved a problem with a quantum computer which no classical computer can do at all. And what Google had claimed is that their quantum computer called Sycamore did something in 200 seconds, which the fastest supercomputer called Summit would have taken 10,000 years. You see the change that is happening? IBM refuted it and said, no, it will not take 10,000 years, it will take only 2.5 years or some such thing. But the fact of the matter is that you've got something completely new coming in. And now this is what quantum technologies are going to be about. Quantum technologies are going to be about something which is many more times than whatever the classical computers were. It's already there. They're working. There are, in fact, in Australia, University of New South Wales has the first program, engineering program on quantum technologies in the world. US has followed. On 7th October 2020, the White House issued a statement about their interest in quantum technologies and creating programs for quantum technologies. And UK and many other countries are doing that. So this is where the world is headed. And therefore, it is very important for you to be quote unquote quantum literate, quantum ready, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, it's going to have a huge thing in medicine. I had no idea until I read about it. Quantum sensors. I mentioned about IoT and sensors. Now, everything that we do in medicine is in some sense sensors. Quantum sensors will transform. They will be able to see inside my brain how each of those cells is working and functioning. It's a complete, as I said, game changer, very important, very powerful, and needs good education. It is not something that you can just do by saying that I am very strong and I will do whatever. No, you have to actually do some learning and so on. In conclusion, because I have time now, if you remember, I said that knowing what to do when you don't know what to do, or you have not been taught what to do. So, how will you find out in the future what things are going to come? I am suggesting to you to look at three things. First is look at where research is happening, where new things are happening, and to coin a phrase, the frontiers of knowledge, where are they moving? Röntgen discovered X-rays in around 1900 or 1890, got the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1901. And as you know, X-ray is a huge thing. From X-ray came CT scan, etc., etc. Many of the things that you see today are things for which people got Nobel Prizes some time ago. So look at what scientific frontiers are. You may not understand all the science, but you know, this is what people are doing. They're looking at laser, they're looking at this, they're looking at that. And as I said, they were looking at quantum and so on. The second thing to look at is in which area are patents being filed. Patents transform ideas to invention. Ideas get Nobel Prize, but patents are given for invention, which is a working model which you do, and the country's patent office will look at it and so on, and then grant you a patent. Now, this shows that this is something which is going to come in a large scale. Everything that you see today, your selfie camera, CCD, this, our camera, they were all given patents at some point of time, and any product is made of several patents. So the fight between Apple and Google, Microsoft is who holds patents over which things. And the third thing is looking at where the investments are being made. Where are venture capitalists making their investments, and where are governments making their investments? Now, once we know all three, this is a new area, patents have been granted for this, investments are being made for this, then that is an area which will remain for next 5 or 10 years. You will all have to do a number of careers over your life, because things which are very important mainstream today will become obsolete very soon. So you will continuously have to be in check as to what is coming up next and be ready and prepare for that. And eventually, therefore, education is very important. Self-learning is going to be very important, because while people can teach you what is settled knowledge, what is desirable knowledge, what is fundamental knowledge, what is happening, you have to figure out yourself, because there won't be anybody, because it's happening new for everybody. If something is being patented today, it is for everybody. Nobody older than you knows anything more about it than what you would. So being able to be a self-learner. And again, AI is very helpful, because AI helps you in becoming a better self-learner. So again, I mentioned, so there is a person called John Holt. He said this very beautifully. He said this: in times of uncertainty, when we don't know what is going to happen, the best thing is to have a desire for learning, curiosity, questioning what Ravi's mother told him. And then, having decided to learn it so well that you really know it. It is not to pass the exams alone, or even to get 100 out of 100 in the exam. It's really to know it, so that you can say to yourself, I know, and I know that I know. That is what you have to look for. And take all the help from everybody else around you. Your teachers, your parents, your friends, your seniors, your elder brother, your friend on Facebook. It could be anybody from where you learn. Self-learning doesn't mean learning by yourself or having some divine intuition. No, it means that there is no specific person who keeping the gates. And as I said, if you do all this, doors will open for you. You didn't even know that they exist. And this is the excitement of the future. The excitement of the unknown future is that you are doing various things, and then suddenly doors open which you had never imagined. Do you think anybody, Bill Gates, etc., when they were studying, had imagined they will become so rich, so powerful? Whether it's the Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg, none of these gates opened for them when they didn't even know that these gates exist. So I think I should stop now. Time is more or less over. My best wishes to all of you, not only for the success of this event, but for a great life in the future. And one day you will be a very important person, because each of us has the potential to change the world, make the world a better place. And in some sense, you will also feel very happy, accomplished because of having done that complex problem solving. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you for your encouraging speech on artificial intelligence. Our esteemed Honorable Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in the Sultanate of Oman, Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, and Honorable Members on the Board, Mr. Ajay Kumar J. Pillai, President, Indian School Muscat Management Committee, esteemed members of Indian School Muscat Management Committee, our Honorable Principal, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chauhan, Presidents and esteemed members of all Indian School Management Committees in the Sultanate of Oman, Honorable Principals, Vice Principals, Assistant Vice Principals, Supervisors, Coordinators, Heads of Departments, Teachers, Parents, and Students. As we draw towards the close of this session, I, Neha Maria Paul of Class 11D from Indian School Muscat, am privileged to propose the vote of thanks. At the outset, I wish to express my heartfelt thanks to His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq and his government for their benevolence towards the Indian community in the Sultanate of Oman. May God grant His Majesty a long life and our host country perpetual prosperity and peace. On behalf of Indian School Muscat family, I extend our sincere gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Professor Dr. Madan Mohan Pant, for spending his valuable time and inspiring the audience with his motivating speech. On behalf of the Indian School Muscat family, I extend our sincere gratitude to our esteemed chairman, Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, for his presence. Thank you, sir. I express my gratitude to our honorable members on the board for gracing this occasion. Thank you, sirs and madams. Our wholehearted gratitude to Mr. Ajay Kumar J. Pillai, President and other valued members of the Indian School Muscat Management Committee for their support. Thank you, sirs and madams. I take this opportunity to express my deepest gratitude to our dear principal, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chauhan, for his unstinted support, guidance, and encouragement. Thank you, sir. We appreciate and place on record our sincere thanks to Senior Vice Principal Administration and his team for all the logistics support. Thank you, sir. I extend my sincere thanks to the principals, vice principals, assistant vice principals, supervisors, coordinators, heads of departments, and teachers for the support they have extended. Thank you, sirs and madams. My heartfelt gratitude to all the parents and students for coming and attending the event. Learning new things fast, rapidly, on your own will be the success mantra. Thank you, one and all.